Hey, thank you for taking a few moments to listen to your old youth pastor. I want to talk to you about the bean patch of life that God's given you. What are you doing with the beans that God has given you? It says in 2 Samuel 23:11, next in rank was Shammah, son of Agee from Harar. One time the Philistines gathered at Lehi and attacked the Israelites in the field full of lentils. The Israelite army fled, but Shammah held his ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. So the Lord brought a great victory. The Bible talks about Shammah. He was one of David's 37 mighty warriors. And so here's this guy that was a pretty amazing guy. He wasn't just your ordinary guy. He was one of David's mighty warriors. And so when we talk about him, you got to look at this guy that he's not just an ordinary guy. He's someone that I believe with all my heart, believed in God, trusted in God, and believed for his country. Why would someone like him fight for beans? And that's the question. Were they special beans? Were they gold-plated beans? Were they Bitcoin beans of that day? What was unique about these beans? Well, I believe with all my heart these beans meant nothing. It just ended up being the place where he chose that day. Listen, I'm going to stand for what's right. I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to trust God to help me in this situation. It was the principle of the matter that day. See, many of us are guilty of giving our lives for beans. Giving our lives for beans, giving our lives for worthless relationships, trying to find someone to love us, someone to care about us. We want someone so bad that we're willing to give up everything for that person. We give our lives for beans. And then that person walks away from us because we didn't wait on what God had for us. Many of us give our lives for worthless friendship beans, hoping that someone will like us, someone will care about us, or we give our lives for trying to impress someone or impress a group of people. We dress like them, we act like them. In the end, they reject us because it's worthless beans. Or maybe I told the teenagers, we fight with our parents over worthless things. I mean, how many times in our relationships as adults do we fight with our kids or our spouses or family members or coworkers over nothing? It's a waste of time. We spend our beans on nothing. Or we give up our dreams for worthless pleasures right now. We don't look a week down the road or 2 weeks down the road. We're just looking at right now. And we give our life for these little beans that mean nothing, that eventually will destroy our lives. See, Shammah was tired of being pushed around by the enemy and decided that day, I am not going to run away. He says, listen, I can run away, but I know the enemy is always going to follow me. It comes a point where I got to stand up against the enemy and fight the enemy and show him that what I have is amazing, that God is on my side, and I'm not going to back down from anything. See, many of us are guilty of giving our lives for beans. It says in that verse, next in rank was Shammah, son of Agee from Harar. One time the Philistines gathered at Lehi and attacked the Israelites in a field full of lentils. The Israelites' army fled, but Shammah held his ground in the middle of the field. They beat back the Philistines, so the Lord brought a great victory. Why would someone fight for beans by themselves? Think about it. I mean, here he is, I'm getting ready to fight. I'm getting ready to battle. And everyone's like, man, we got this, man. Let's take the Philistines. And they're like, yeah, let's go. And next thing he knows, he's like, all right, guys, let's go. And he looks around, and there's no one there. Everyone ran away. How many times have you as a believer or as a person like, hey, we're going to go talk to the boss about this situation. Everyone's like, yeah, man, let's go. And when you get to the door, you look around and you're the only one standing there. You're the only one standing there. All the rest of the army that you're with have left you. This tells us that the situation that they were in was a very scary situation. It wasn't something that you would just casually go into, but it's something that it could cost me my life. See, many teenagers, many adults run from the bean patch of life because their friends have run away, because their friends are partying or their friends are sleeping around. Their friends are not living for God. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run away like everybody else. See, this culture needs someone to stand up and say that God is for real. And look at my life, the way I'm living. I'm showing you who God is by the way I live my life. And that day, Shammah said, I'm going to show the world that God is for real. I'm going to stand and fight. If it's only me, I'm going to stand and fight. Don't run from the bean patch of your purity. And this goes for adults. This goes for teenagers. Don't run from your bean patch of purity. See, it's easy to lose your purity. I always tell teenagers when I'm preaching to them, I've done a lot of weddings, I've done a lot of marriage counseling, and not one time in the counseling sessions when we talk about sex, have I ever had a person say, man, I wish I would have slept with 4 or 5 more people before I got married. They actually, 100% of the time, they're like, I wish I would have waited for this person. I wish I would have held myself for this person because I love this person. A lot of people, the bean patch of their future wife or husband, that would just, God has this beautiful woman or this beautiful man waiting for you. Don't throw your beans away on someone that's worthless right now. Don't throw your bean patch of integrity away. You got to work at integrity, but you can lose it in a moment. Don't throw that away. The bean patch of your conscience, when God speaks to you and starts to, talk to your heart and say, listen, you need to do this. Don't throw that away. Let God constantly speak to you about way you need to live your life. The bean patch of your future, don't throw it away, because the future that God has for you is so big and so great. It kind of goes with the bean patch of destiny. God's future for you is so amazing, but you got to make good choices in the bean patch that you're in right now, because the choice you make right now in the bean patch will affect you the rest of your life. You got to make good choices. What about the bean patch of your salvation? Is that salvation so dear to you that you guard it with everything inside of you? You don't allow anything to steal that from you. You don't allow anything to take that from you. The bean patch of your life. Your life is so important. God put you here for a reason. See, God has victory in store for all of us, but we have to make good choices in the bean patch that we're in. Right now, it doesn't seem important to you, but it's worth your life. These bean patches that you have, it's worth your life. One day it will mean everything to you. I always tell the teenagers, every choice you make now as a teenager, those choices will affect you as an adult. And if you're an adult, you can look back as a teenager. Those choices I made affect me today. Good or bad, they affect me today. It means everything, the choices you make. The Bible says that Shammah held his ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. He didn't give up the bean patch that day, but he held his ground. And this is what made him one of David's mighty warriors. See, if you want something bad enough, no one can stop you from attaining it. If God's put something inside of you, God will make it come to pass. Imagine, here he is standing all by himself. The Philistines see this one guy, and they're like, man, we can take this guy, man. We got this guy. And when they went to attack him, the Bible doesn't say, but the Bible says God beat back the enemy through him. I don't know if God sent angels, but an army came against one man, and one man beat back a whole army and brought victory that day to the nation of Israel. One man. One man, the Bible says, can bring victory. One man. The Bible says one man can beat back 1,000, but 2 can beat back 10,000. Imagine if we joined together in this battle of life. What would God do in us? So the Lord brought a great victory. The victory happened because he had a desire to do something. God empowered him then and used him in a mighty way. See, God just needs someone that says, God, I believe that you're real. God, I believe you're true. God, will you pour in me? And God will use you to change the world that you live in. Yeah, you. God will use you to change the world. Sometimes we just have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired and say, God, I'm tired of being what I've always been. I'm ready to step up to the plate and be what you called me to be. God then comes alongside you and gives you the power to win the battle. Gives you the power. See, he didn't create you to lose. He created you as a winner. And we got to choose in the bean patch of life to be a winner. Hey, thank you for spending a few moments with me. Just pray about it. God, what bean patch am I in right now that I need to stand up and speak truth to a culture? Even if no one else goes with me. God, I know as you do with Shammah, God, you will go with me and you will give me a great victory and you will help me to beat back the enemies. Hey, man, have a great day and be blessed. And remember, man, I love you, man. I believe in you. Have a great day. See you.